Good afternoon, everyone. I'm pleased to welcome Kamal Bell, the CEO of Sankofa Farms, here today. Kamal holds a bachelor's degree in animal sciences and a master's degree in agricultural teacher education as well from North Carolina Agricultural and Technical State University. While teaching agriculture in Durham Public Schools, he applied to the USDA Farm Service Agency Beginner Farmer Program and started his first farm. He's joining us today to talk about his innovative programs at Sankofa Farms. Thank you so much for joining us, Kamal. Let me make sure that we can unmute you. Okay.
Okay, I'm here. I'm here. I muted myself for a second.
Okay, I thought we muted you, so I was trying to fix that. Okay, glad you're back.
Thank you, thank you. It's my pleasure to be here with you all today. I see Dr. Gerald is here. How are you doing? I want to first, I'll just greet you all and thank you for having me. Secondly, how I go through and introduce like just what the farm is doing is I created a slideshow that goes a little bit about my background, and also it goes into my motivations and what actually led us to start Sankofa Farms. And then after that, we're going to go through I'm going to take questions from you all. So we should have about 10 to 15 minutes for questions. So I'm now getting ready to share my screen with you all, and we're going to jump right into our presentation. On the front of my presentation, you're going to see, and I know my wife is like, he says this every time, but she mentioned to me one time that I didn't mention her enough in my presentation. So I decided that I was going to take a picture of her and put on the first slide. So every time that I go into a presentation, I'll have my wife there. So I'll remember to tell the story to acknowledge that my wife is a very important part of our farm. The beginning, my upbringing started in Durham. I'm from Durham, and I took a brief hiatus when I went to college. But I went to North Carolina Central's pre-K. It's an HBCU here in Durham, and the interesting thing about this environment, it gave me a perspective on what community looked like. The teachers were very loving. They supported our needs. It was a cultural understanding there, and that truly helped shape my perspective as I got older. After that, I went to R.N. Harris Elementary, which is also in Durham, and it's probably maybe 5 minutes from the North Carolina Central's pre-K. And this was another one of those environments where it was very nurturing. It was a cultural understanding. There was actually a program that was run at the school called Salamanders in the City, and this program allowed me to just get to have my interest, to hone my interest in being outside. So a lot of programs at the school, but I noticed that there was also a lot of talent in that environment. And this is what ultimately led me to want to work with this demographic once I moved back to Durham. After that, I went to Immaculata and Cardinal Gibbons High School, which were polar opposites of North Carolina Central and R.N. Harris, where I went from being in an environment where the majority of the students looked like me to where they were all white. So there was a culture shock component there. And I started to really look at and develop my own ideas and look at the world differently because of this experience in Catholic school. After my experience in Catholic school, I was determined that I was going to go to an HBCU. And I ended up going to North Carolina A&T. And this is where I first learned about food deserts, but most importantly, I was able to work at the university's farm. At North Carolina A&T, I worked with poultry, small ruminants, large ruminants. I also worked at the swine unit as well, and that took up most of my time. I worked there for about a year and 2 or 3 months, somewhere around there. But that was a really cool experience, and it really helped give me that hands-on experience. After I left North Carolina A&T, after I graduated from my undergraduate degree, I decided to get my master's at North Carolina A&T as well. And I was placed for I forgot what the assignment is called. I think for my assistantship. I was a research assistant, and I worked at the small vegetable unit. And this was really, really cool. It gave me an idea of really how to grow vegetables and systems that need to be in place to maintain profitability as a farmer. So this experience really cultivated and shaped who I am. I also learned about the food desert aspect, especially with North Carolina A&T being in East Greensboro, I think UNCG being in West Greensboro, and you have this disparity in food outlets. And I started to see this pattern everywhere I went, and especially in Black communities. So it led me to pursue farming. A lot of people ask me, why do I farm? And it's my passion. And I often tell people, because the conversation now is like farming is like, a lot of people say they went into it because it's like how they fight back against the system. And they have that perspective. Well, my perspective on why I farm is because it helps the Black community. I don't farm as a response to white supremacy and to racism. That's not why I farm. We just happen to be tackling issues caused by systemic racism. But I farm because I love it and it helps the Black community. Here's our farm now, which is getting ready to get a facelift. We got approved through the USDA for EQIP, well, through the EQIP program. So we're actually going to be building a structure that's the size of 3 of these, 30 by 96. Well, 2 of these. And it's going to be a greenhouse, and we're going to be building 2 more greenhouses. So the farm is getting a huge facelift at the moment. And right now, all of our tunnels will be stocked full of food by next week. So we're getting a lot of food out, and we're working with a lot of community partners really to expand our production and tackle the issue of food deserts. And well, this area actually got cleared about 3 weeks ago. So I'll get an updated drone image and update the PowerPoint. I just haven't had a chance to because we've just been like so busy planting and everything. But we also raise bees at our farm. We're literally splitting colonies right now. So that means when you take one colony and you make multiple colonies from it. So we're at 28 right now. We'll probably get to around 50 this year, but we're going to be selling bees, so we don't want to get that high. So we have a lot going on at the farm, and we're going to be doing some outdoor growing in this space this year as well. Out of my desire to want to get back to the community, I also was a school teacher. I taught at Lowe's Grove Middle School here in Durham, and I had an idea to create a youth academy to support our youth. So what's actually interesting now is that the youth who have been at the farm for at least 3 years are now farm managers, and they're also on payroll. So it's been really cool just to see them get exposed to STEM, learn entrepreneurship. Like we're teaching them how to save and budget. One of our students just actually got accepted to North Carolina A&T, and which was really cool about this is that he was not on track when he first entered our program to go to A&T, and he's majoring in agriculture. So the next step for us is making sure we provide them with the correct supports to get them through college. And then I always say we have a model to take middle school children and to develop them and get them interested in agricultural careers. And I've seen that that's been a big topic in the research. So I'm really excited about these next 4 years and providing even more support for our students. Here's a picture of one of our students, Cameron. He's actually one of the beginning students at Sankofa. And just so people don't think like we just want to send everybody to college, he actually is going to Durham Tech, and he's working at Amazon, and he's actually getting ready to move out on his own at 18. So I think just the life skills component of what Sankofa has been able to establish with the students has been pretty amazing as well, because not only did he took initiative and he's taking control over his destiny again. So I think that's the resilient aspect and the resiliency that we see with our programming. Here's a picture of Kamani. He's a student that's going to A&T. This is him and Cameron. They're paid speakers as well, so they get to do speaking engagements and get paid for it. So it's another aspect of the program. My goal is everything that I know how to do and that I get paid for, they can do it too. So they literally could be like, sometimes they do presentations virtually as well because they develop that skill at such a young age. This is a picture. I actually like this picture a lot because our growing practices have drastically changed from this. This was our first year growing, and I can just literally pick out so many eyesores in this picture. Like We haven't been managing the weeds or crops planted on top of each other. The lettuce is in the correct spacing. The beds aren't the correct spacing. There's just so many things that we could have did correctly here, but this is a starting point. We chronicled it, and this is like always a point of us being humble, because where we are now, we wouldn't be without just the opportunity that people have given us. I wouldn't have this opportunity now. So these things are really cool, and I think serve as teaching tools for us. Here are our houses now. This is an old picture as well. Actually, one of our students, and I have these here because our students took these pictures. This house was planted with transplants. It had a row of kale that was ready to be harvested. But now all 4 of these tunnels are planted. And then we actually transitioned this shorter house to a full house. So we're growing the farm out. And we're literally, I say every year that this year is going to be our year. We have everything running together, and then we just keep getting more and more opportunities. So we're going to have a lot of space to grow out here, and we're going to be producing a lot of food by the end of this year, which I'm very excited about. And here's another picture of the students, just of them going through the bees, and it just shows the bond that they've been able to build just by staying persistent and working at the farm. One thing that we really aim to do at the farm is bridge the gap. And I'm talking about necessarily the opportunity gap. And there's just so much opportunity that lies in agriculture. This is our student. He's actually our youngest beekeeper, certified beekeeper, Jamil. And this is us, him and Kamani and I catching a swarm. So these things are really important because they're able to get certifications and get exposed to opportunities at a younger age. This is Kamani and Cameron at the Atlantic Fest 2 years ago. Bear Crop Science, we have a really good relationship with them. They actually brought us there to speak about Sankofa Farms and our experience with the bees. So everyone got put their Sunday's best on, and we went to present. And that was, I think, this experience for them took their confidence to the next level to show them that they can almost do anything they put their minds to, because these two have been in the program since the farm was all trees. So the picture I showed you, the aerial, everywhere that you see tunnels, there used to be trees there. So that's just a sign that anything is possible when you put your mind to it and the effort into it. And here's an idea that we are going to revisit. I'm actually at Central in this picture, and we were doing like a pop-up produce shop where people can buy produce from us and then meet us in Durham. We've been getting a lot of people reach out again about CSAs, and this is where our drop-off location is going to be. So once we get like the structure of the program back, we're going to pitch again that we're doing a CSA, and we're going to have our drop-off. Hopefully Central let us have it still. We're going to have our drop-off at Central again. And here, I just always have this picture. I think it was like a culminating experience. The students were here. I got to do a TEDx. It's called Embodying Sankofa. And we talked about the importance of Sankofa Farms and the meaning behind the Sankofa symbol, the Sankofa bird, and the phrase. And this was really just one of those moments where I was like, you know what, like the farm is going to be something real cool one day if we just stay at it. And here are all of my links. So if you all want to follow us and follow our journey, here are the platforms you can do that on. If you have any questions, we can take them now and talk about them now. Or you can, if you have any questions about what we're doing with the farm, we're going to actually start our own beekeeping certification process this year. Bear Crop Science funded it. And we're going to be doing that from our perspective and from our cultural experience. So those are things that I think you all may see on the, you all will see on these pages. So if you want to stay connected to opportunities like that, just give us a follow on these platforms.
Thank you. Thank you so much for that wonderful presentation. Really impactful work. And we've talked a lot over the yesterday and today over the course of this conference. One thing that's come up a lot is how climate change in particular is harming Black communities and other communities of color first and worst is something that really comes up. And I think it was just so inspiring to see the work you're doing is really nourishing your community, both in a very literal way, but also just more holistically, like building resilience. So Thank you for sharing all that.
Thank you. No problem. No problem.
Yeah. I'm going to go see if we have any questions from the audience, but I was wondering if you could talk about any challenges that you faced in terms of whether it's getting loans or getting your products to market. What are some of the difficulties there?
I think the biggest issue that we have right now is time. So like the students are in school. I'm working on my doctorate. I'm in school, and just being able to really find blocks of time where we can work at the farm. We've been able to forge partnerships with Fight for 15 here in Durham, Duke Man, Root Causes, Table for NC. We're working with them. We just started working with them last week. Grow for Life, we work with them as well, and they all have missions of getting people who are food insecure access to healthy food. So after we like get the food grown, like we segment this block of time and we get that done, our food, then we work with distribution services because we don't have enough time to do it all. So that's really been a really something very impactful that we've been able, like that partnership, that's been very impactful. But our biggest challenge is definitely time. So I just can't wait to get out of school so I can put more energy into the model of what the farm is.
And looking at your in terms of the CSAs and kind of getting your products out to market, are there has that been something that you have found like it's easy to set up those partnerships?
I think the biggest, I think in short, yes, and I think that's because of our branding and just having opportunities to get in front of different demographics. I think that has helped us be able to forge more partnerships. I think if we didn't have, because the produce is starting to look really, really good there at the farm. I think if we didn't have like the social media influence, I think that would be harder to forge relationships. And I meant to reach out to someone who actually supported us this past week. NC State and UNC, they brought students there. And I think what that does is when other larger organizations stamp your work, that allows you to develop partnerships with other entities. And I think that's really important. So I'm like a big advocate of farmers, especially Black farmers, using social media. And that's like it's really hard because of the age, but I think that's something that gives us access to different markets and information, because when the students come out, they're able to say, hey, you can do A, B, and C a certain way that I probably wouldn't have thought of. So I think that's a really important aspect of the farm.
Yeah, it's going to be nice having the youth to help with that. Are there other farms who are working in a similar way to address food deserts the way that Sankofa is in African American populations elsewhere in North Carolina that you know of?
Yes, Kendrick Ransom in Edgecombe County. He's doing great work there. He has a specific mission. Earthseed has a mission to get people who are food insecure. They're in Durham, in North Durham. I think those are the only two I can think of off the top of my head that have specific missions, like that you see like in their mission statements in their work. If I'm forgetting somebody, I apologize, but those are the farms.
Yeah, that's interesting. Is there a lot of kind of collaboration or communication about, sharing resources or discussion between Black farmers as sort of how to elevate each other's work?
Yes, we talk all the time, like whether it's Instagram, text message. There's a farmer in Chapel Hill, Howard Allen, and he actually showed us the model of how to grow in those tunnels. So we talk all the time. I was messaging him yesterday, asking like, hey, because I know we transplanted some lettuce, and since those tunnels are plastic, they hold heat in at certain points. So I was just like, hey, I can tell it damaged the lettuce. Are you putting your shade cloths on now? and he was able to say, yeah, anything you do to keep your plants cool, keep them cool. Like we talk all the time about little tricks or little questions or knacks that I have, like that I've learned. We'll share between each other.
Yeah, yeah. Are there things that we can do, people in the audience, you know, who are here today, to do to support projects like this or support your work in particular?
Yes, I would definitely say mentorship for sure, and just being able to expose the students to as much as possible. So if I see that there's some professionals here, I'll be more than happy to take emails, and then link you all up with our students in our program so we can get the students exposed to as much opportunity as possible. Because literally, when I meet most of the students, I'll ask them what they want to be, and you'll hear athlete first. But then after in the program, they don't want to be. I mean, there's nothing wrong with being an athlete, but that's not going to fix. That's not going to fix our community. So we've been just really seeing their perspective and mindsets change. It has been a very I'm not going to say rewarding, but very powerful aspect of what Sankofa has done.
How do students get connected with you to begin with?
When I was teaching, I would invite them out from the classroom because originally the program of Sankofa was supposed to be in the school system. Like I wrote up the proposal for it. I think that's so funny now that we are connected to so many opportunities, but when I proposed it to the school system, they didn't want to do it. But what ended up happening was the model that I created, all the other schools tried to replicate it. Like then everyone wants to reinvest in agricultural programs in Durham Public Schools, which is really interesting. So I would invite them out from the classroom once I saw their general interest. But now students get referred to work with Sankofa.
That's great. Well, I'm sure we could have some interesting collaborations in terms of mentorship, and it'd be great to connect those students with people in the community who could show them what types of career paths are open to them. And yeah, that's really exciting. As far as, I think I noticed do you have a connection with the Duke Hospital system? Because I feel like I saw the CSA featured have you ever had any connections with healthcare? Because there seems to be so much overlap when we talk about food insecurity, and we have so many healthcare systems in our Triangle area that, you know, that by sourcing food from a farm like yours could be both addressing that food insecurity, which is such a social determinant of health, and also just supporting the community. Has that conversation ever come up?
That's a great question. I actually was at Duke yesterday and I was talking to a nurse about this. We were talking about COVID, and then she was talking about some of the things that she's seen with people who had diabetes and how it affected them. And then she started talking about type 2 diabetes. And I literally proposed to her that what could we create, or who would I need to talk to create a program where we could put produce boxes together for people who are affected by type 2 diabetes, since you could she said you kind of reverse it or mitigate the effects of it escalating to type 1. So if I'm wrong, somebody tell me. I'm not like in healthcare, but I was thinking about us doing a design like that where we got produce to people, and the box, of course, be funded through a grant or something like that. And just to see if this would a recipe sheet, but really getting close to that patient and seeing what would it take or what would help them to eat healthier. Like maybe it's not giving them the food, maybe it's something else. So I would want to work on a grant like that. So if anybody has any ideas, let me know.
Yeah. One of our audience members is mentioned root causes, is that you're connected with root causes, and is wondering if we could connect you to the Healthy Lifestyles program at Duke. And this is a program that's involved in helping people with, you know, prevent things like diabetes, people with obesity, or have healthier diets. Is that something you're interested in?
For sure.
Yeah.
So everyone we partner with, we make sure they have a mission to get people who are food insecure access to food. So I would love to work with them. I see Alonzo
There's some
Hill.
comments. Yeah, there's some comments in the chat. So it sounds like we could have some really fruitful collaborations coming out of this.
Yeah, I'm just writing everyone's name down.
Yeah.
So I don't.
We're going to be, we will be collecting, you know, the informations from the chats and making sure they get out. So.
Okay.
So yeah.
So I'm definitely interested in that. I think the more we can do that, I think and especially like working with youth, getting food to the communities, I think that'd be change, like system changing. I think Durham could be the model for that. I think like Durham has like great ideas, but I feel like they're just like segmented. So I think like this can be a way to pull in a lot of people from different areas, and we really create a great impact.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree. And thank you for sharing. Again, I think I'm going to, we got some contact information. Are you getting that?
Yep, I am.
Okay. Any last thoughts before we wrap up? This is really phenomenal model, and I think it's especially inspiring how many different aspects of health you pull together with your farm program, and you know, from the very personal level to the community level. So it's really been an honor to have you speak here, and we'll definitely be reaching out to think about ways we can partner. So
Right.
Thank you again for joining, and thank you everyone for participating.
And thank you for having me here.